I'm a big believer in diversity of thought, diversity of opinion, as well as diversity of teams, because I'm a direct recipient of it.
Awesome. I love that, Nish. And, I'm so excited that you're here today to speak with me on our next episode of Real Talks. And we're really going to focus on diversity. And there's so many different perspectives on what diversity is. And when you hear the word diversity, what comes to mind and how do you think about it?
First of all, great to be here. Great to be chatting with you, Sue. We've synced on this topic quite a lot, obviously, with the DEI Council and all that. But very first thing that comes to my mind is just a level playing field, right? Being able to, it doesn't matter color of your skin, whether you're a man or a woman or, whatever you identify as, it doesn't matter. So it's a level playing field. You're the best, person for that position. And then therefore you get, promoted or anything really for that position is open for you, right? I think the second thing that comes to mind for me as well is that none of those biases actually come into play, right? It shouldn't matter, when I go to promote somebody or I go to look at, when I'm hiring or anything like that, right? None of those biases should ever come into play at all. We've got a job that we've got to do here and is that the right person that we're hiring for that job, right? I also look at it from a personal perspective, being massively outnumbered in my household. I'm a girl dad. I have two daughters, right? Very young daughters, and my wife as well. So 3-1 in my household. I look at it from that perspective too, right? What kind of world do I want my daughters to grow up in?
You say it so eloquently that it's just the best person for the role, right? And, you're looking at skill sets, you're looking at abilities and capabilities. And how do you build your team, speak to your managers to ensure that we really are looking for the best person for the role?
Number one is being open, right? I mean, look, at the end of the day, I've got biases. Everybody does. I mean, you can't remove bias. But what you can do is mitigate it to a certain extent by being open. So, and what I mean by being open is that when we do an interview, I should not be, and nor should I ever be, the sole arbiter of that decision. So it should always be an open process where I'm adding other individuals. That way they get a good, the candidate gets a really good understanding and quite a diverse sort of opinion as well. I'm like, hey, what are these people like to work with, right? Is Nish a really cool guy or is he a jerk? Do I want to work for this guy or what? Things like that. And I have a very open door. If somebody wants to come to me and say, hey, you suck, that's okay. It's fine. You're absolutely entitled to that opinion. And I respect that opinion and I will fight for that opinion, right? Fight for your right for that opinion. And I got to be open to that feedback, right? I see a lot of leaders today, they don't like negative feedback, right? And so what ends up happening is if everybody just keeps coming to you and saying, hey, you're awesome, well, guess like in a year's time, you're going to think you're awesome, right? And then the only thing you're ever going to think is you're awesome. So it's good to have people challenge you. It's healthy to have people challenge you. I was also very lucky in my career at Dynatrace. My very first manager taught me a lot about people leadership, being humble, don't ever forget kind of where you came from, those sorts of things. I've had some really, really strong leaders that have really guided me, about, thought, diversity and thought and opinion and, hey, you got to be able to take the good stuff with the bad.
And that's wonderful. And when you think about openness, you talk about checking your bias, right? Do you have open conversations or do you have specific conversations about bias with your team?
Absolutely. I'll give you an example. Actually, we were in a proof of concept just now with a company and Marky is my principal engineer, Marky Doobie. She's awesome, right? And I was stepping in on an area that I said I wasn't going to step in on. And she quite politely told me to shut up, and she's got it. And I needed it, I needed it because I have this thing where I'm like, hey, I need to be involved in this, right? And people got to tell me, hey, it's all good, we got it, right? Don't worry about it. You got more important things to worry about, right?
To be that open and that receptive to it and not get offended because someone says, hey, you know what? I got this. That you don't need to get involved. How do you not get offended? How do you teach the team or speak to the team about not getting offended?
Yeah, it all starts with the culture you want to build. If you build a culture of respect, if you build a culture of openness, then everything else will flow from that. One of my very good friends now, and he says it, right? So goes the leader, so goes the culture, so goes the team. And, we live by it. You have to be able to take negative feedback. You have to be able to, have someone come up to you and say, listen, you're stepping on my toes and I don't like it. And that's okay, right? That's totally okay. There's nothing wrong with what they're saying. There's nothing, bad about it or anything like that. And you have to have a level of, looking at yourself, looking in the mirror and saying, hey, I did something wrong there. And that's a learning lesson. I probably learned that the most being a young parent, right? But with my first child, I make so many mistakes.
It definitely rounds you for sure and gives you a different perspective. But, a couple times you've mentioned people come to you. Do you seek out individuals' thoughts on this? I mean, because sometimes people won't say anything. They just, even though you might have an open door policy, you want to receive the information and in a respectful way. Of course, respect is so key. But a lot of times people are afraid to say, maybe even a new team member just trying to, make a good impression. So do you seek out information and ask the individuals?
Yeah, absolutely. I do it in multiple ways. We do it on our team call where we do a kind of round the table. And obviously that's the same similar situation where it's in front of everybody. So maybe people aren't that comfortable. So then, what I think it's my responsibility actually as a leader to identify the individuals on my team and what their type is, right? Are they introvert? Are they extrovert? Do they like to say things in front of others? Do they not, right? That's my responsibility as a leader. And it's also my responsibility then to make sure that they feel comfortable talking to me about it. So, in my one-on-one, I'll bring it up that, hey, I asked for feedback from everybody and you didn't say anything. So if you didn't feel comfortable in that setting, that's totally okay. And if you want to, come and talk to me about it here in a one-on-one setting, absolutely. At the end of the day, I think as human beings, we're always evolving. We're always learning. You never stop learning. My mum actually always used to say this, that like even a 6-month-old can teach you something. And you think like they can't communicate at all other than crying. But yeah, they teach you. They need their diaper change. They teach you, right? So, learning just never stops. And it's about understanding that, hey, everybody has a different way of communicating and figuring out what their way of communicating is and making sure they have a voice and they feel heard.
And so what I'm hearing is by your open door leadership and being very in tune to the different team members, you have to create that safe space or that environment where people feel comfortable to bring their ideas, to have the ability to have difficult dialogue that will hopefully then unlock and fuel innovation, right? And so how, in your opinion, does diversity drive innovation?
It's because it forces you to think outside of the box. When you have people in your team that are not like you, it forces you to think outside of the box. I'll actually give you a really good example where we have people on the team that don't drink alcohol, that are vegetarian, things like that. So when I plan corporate events or when I plan anything, I have I eat meat and I drink alcohol. So, for me, I'd think, hey, I'm just going to, I'm just going to a restaurant. It's all good, right? But now I go look at the options on the menu. I go look, hey, do they have non-alcoholic options? Do they have vegetarian options, right? Because I don't want to go to a restaurant where my team can't order anything, right? Things like that. So that's a basic example, but what it does is it definitely does foster innovation because, again, it's giving you a different, somebody else is going to come in and offer a different thought and offer a different opinion, and it forces you to address that. and it forces you to think and acknowledge that different thought and opinion.
It's not only making sure you have diversity of thought, but then it's also engaging that diversity of thought. People could have great ideas, but if they never speak them because they don't feel comfortable about speaking them, it's not going to fuel innovation, and it's not going to potentially come up with the solutions that we need to excite our clients.
Yes, absolutely. Like, the culture is it's so important, right? Like, do people want to be here? Do they love coming to work? Every morning when they open the laptop, do they think like, oh man, here goes another day? Or are they like, hey, let's figure out the best way to help our customers solve problems, because I really enjoy doing this. And, I've been here 10 years, and I can honestly tell you that I still open my laptop every day, and I'm happy to be here.
Nish, what you say about diversity and diversity of thought and diversity of opinion is so critically important. So thank you so much, because I 100% agree with all of your thoughts.
It's been awesome. So you love it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, everyone, for joining me today in the session with Nish, our Director of Solution Engineers. If you'd like to find out more about Nish, please check him out on LinkedIn.